No, no, no! Ow!
And welcome back to yet another Buffalo Bills pregame show. My name is Randy. Jared is with me doing all the analysis. And we are excited because the Bills are 8-3. It has been 1 year since we've had this record. And it would seem the big news this week is that we're not playing in San Francisco at all. Game has been moved because of COVID from San Francisco. They chose to play the game in Arizona. Which seems like a bit of advantage as opposed to like both teams have to sleep in hotels, right? It's not like Arizona is like driving distance from the San Francisco area. Jared, any thoughts on this development?
I mean, on one hand, I'm actually kind of sad because that means that the Buffalo Bills will not travel to San Francisco for a total of 16 years, which means that like I have a nephew, you have a child that will basically grow up most of their growing up period without the Bills ever touching foot in San Francisco. So that's kind of sad. And I agree with your point about both teams having to stay at hotels. Obviously, it's more of an advantage for the Bills to travel to the West Coast, but coming here would have been unfair, obviously. But yeah, I mean, the fact that both teams have to travel, and if some Arizona fans go into that game, because they do allow some fans in, they're probably going to be Bills fans and not San Francisco fans.
Why couldn't they just play the game at like some high school stadium in California?
Talking about the Buffalo Blue Jays here for a second. I mean, the lighting for one would have to have been massively upgraded. The grounds would have had to become, pro football ready. That would have been way too much work.
So like the University of Oregon, like I don't know, it seems like there had to be closer options than Arizona.
I don't know if in Oregon it would interfere with what they're already doing in college. Oregon's also not part of California. You mentioned California, but I figured I'd throw that in there.
Stanford, I don't know, one of the big college stadiums nearby.
I see what you mean. I'm only guessing it's because of their own programs that are going. That's my guess.
So we haven't been together for 7 weeks. The season's going better than you predicted, at least. That's safe to say. Any thoughts? Anything that you want to share about what we've gone over without the Buffalo Bills pregame?
Yeah, so you say that it's going better than I expected. You're absolutely correct. However, not by too much. At this point, my prediction was 6-5, and we're 8-3. So a couple games better. If you think back to earlier in the year, I said that I thought we were going to lose to the Jets the second time. That didn't happen. Obviously the Jets were horrible, and the Raiders, I thought we were going to lose to the Raiders due to the history. And the Raiders, they're a pretty decent team, so I think we did pretty well there. But oh my goodness, we've had some great moments. Obviously, the Hail Murray was our lowest point, but beating Seattle, in my opinion, and beating the Patriots were our two high points. We played a Belichick coach team that still knows how to play quarterbacks, as he's proven the last few weeks against Lamar Jackson and Kyler Murray. And then Seattle, oh my goodness, like we scored 2 touchdowns against them in the middle of the first quarter. We were on a streak to beat them 112-0. It was just amazing because to me, Seattle's basically up in par with Pittsburgh, Kansas City, etc. So I feel like that means we can beat the best of the best in this league. And I'm anxious to see what's going to happen in the upcoming weeks, not just this week ahead.
One glaring pattern that stands out throughout this year seems to be our inability to make halftime adjustments or come out excited to play football in the third quarter. Like, however you want to make this point, it would seem that the other team is catching up to us over the course of halftime, and we just have consistently every game have troubles getting going. Do you have any ideas what would be causing this? What can we do to do better at this?
I think part of the problem, and this is like not a bad problem, but like we're usually winning usually at the end of the half. So there's no sense of like urgency. There's no sense of we need to be doing so much better than we are. So I think a sense of complacency sets in. I mean, when I played football in high school, it always seemed like we were never in a sense of complacency at the half. It always seemed like we had to keep battling. So our half times were very detailed, if you will. like, okay, I'll give you an example. During the Jets game, like, I don't know if we were losing to the Jets at halftime, but we were playing horrible against the Jets. We didn't score a touchdown against the Jets. I think McDermott finally woke them up, and he pretty much was like, you're playing the Jets. I mean, you lost to the Titans, you lost to the Chiefs, but now you're playing the Jets. Like, it's time to wake up. And ever since, the Bills, I think, have been woken up for the most part since the second half of that Jets game.
The Arizona loss was difficult, but you're beat on a Hail Mary pass like that. What is lost is a come from behind fourth quarter drive led by Josh Allen to John Brown, Stefon Diggs with a touchdown. It would seem that the Bills have the ability to come from behind in a way that we never have before, and in a way that makes, as watching the games, I'm not as terrified, just holding as hope like when Tyron's the quarterback, like maybe we can somehow score these points and tie the games. Do the Bills' ability to come from behind, does that make you feel better? Like, Bills have proven they can come from behind. When we start to give those, like, does it ever feel out of reach? I guess what I'm trying to say.
No, I mean, I think the only game that was out of reach was the Titans game. That was just a very out of character blowout. Like, no, every game, like the Rams game, the Cardinals game, as you mentioned, like, I've expected some sort of a decent drive in each of those situations. I mean, I don't know if we're going to win or not, but I'm always expecting there to be some sort of competitive nature to that. And I don't know if that's, I do think it's coaching. And it's Josh Allen. I think it's a combination of this overwhelming confidence that, hey, we could actually do this, and we should be able to do this because it's not like we have to score 5 times. We only have to score once. And I think that they have the ability to do it. So I think it's just as simple as that.
All right, focusing in on the 49ers game, any matchup problems or advantages that you see? Like, what are we looking for this game?
Well, on defense, I think we have a good opportunity to do what we did last week against Herbert. We're playing against Nick Mullens, who he's obviously their backup. At one point, he was their third string. Him and CJ Beathard have kind of gone back and forth. Right now, Nick Mullens is slated in as the starter. But he's nobody that inspires confidence for me. So if we do this pressure campaign like we kind of did against Herbert, I think we can do well against Mullens there. They also have George Kittle's out, so their wide receiver and running back are doing okay. Like Mostert's pretty good. But so this is okay. Let me back up. If they run against us, I think we might be suffering the same thing we had been suffering a lot in the last 7 weeks, where teams will run it down our throat, and if they stick to it, we might have an issue. But if they come in like Seattle, where Pete Carroll was not prepared at all, and he's like, "Oh, I didn't expect them to never run the ball," that type of thing, that I think will be okay. Though I will say that Singletary last week did pretty well rushing against the Chargers, so maybe we're finally starting to get our running game going. Plus, we have Morse and Feliciano back in at the same time, so that also helps out as well for the run game.
Zach Moss got more plays than Singletary this last week. Do you see a changing of guard in the running back scenario?
No, I don't. I still think that Singletary is the one of the 1-2 punch. I think that Singletary is the one. I don't see Moss taking over for him yet. No, I don't see that.
So with the 49ers riddled with injuries, their performance has been up and down. Do you predict to win? Do you have your scores ready to go?
Yeah, let's go with that. So for the game, the last 4 out of 5 games, as we've mentioned before we started shooting, they've been lopsided games. Either the Bills have destroyed the 49ers, the 49ers destroyed the Bills, and there always seems to be no home or away advantage. It doesn't matter where they play, really. So ironically, I think this one's going to be much closer. I think that at the beginning of the season, this was not a game I expected them to win, but with their quarterback out, their best tight end out, etc., Nick Bosa out, they have too many players out. So I think I have to give the advantage to the Bills. It's another West Coast trip, but I think the Bills have the advantage. So my score prediction for this game is going to be a close game, 23-20.
Oh, see, I have us winning a 2-score game, 27-17. So, go Bills.
I think it's go Bills. And I don't know. No, this is not the first time we both picked the Bills. We both picked the Bills week 1 against the Jets, but come on.
Who saw that coming?
Yeah.
With the scores out of the way, if the Bills do win, they're going to be moving on to 9-3. Is it a pretty much locked-in playoff picture at that point?
Actually, no, because this year we have a ridiculous amount of other teams that are only 1 game behind us or tied with us. Like currently, for example, the Cleveland Browns are 8-3. Obviously, the key is the division, but right now the Dolphins are 1 or 2 games behind us. I think 1 game behind us still. So, I mean, we're playing the Steelers, the Patriots, and the Dolphins 3 out of the next 5 games. So this is why the 49ers game is so important, because if we lose this one, we're going to have to make up ground somewhere we weren't expecting, possibly. I mean, the only easy one I see is Denver, but there's never any easy ones at the same time. So I think that this is going to be a fight all the way down to week 17, to be honest. But time will tell. You're right. 9-3, it sounds easy, but I don't think it is, just based on the records of the other team.
All right. Well, we'll be back to talk about it. Lots of primetime games coming up. So lots of Buffalo Bills pregame show down the stretch. I wouldn't have it any other way. It was good hanging out with you, Jared, and we'll be back next week.
Sounds good.
All right. Until then, thank you very much for joining Buffalo Bills pregame. I got nothing to throw. So no haircut? Whoa.